Hello, dear World of Warcraft friends. Welcome back to another video on my channel. Last week there was a Q&A on a Blizzard Discord server with Ian Hesse Coasters. Some questions were answered there about how things will continue with WoW and so on. And a big topic was the so-called patch cadences, meaning the period of time it takes for a new patch to be released. This became especially relevant because Blizzard had a pretty buggy launch with patch 12.0. We already had the same situation with patch 11.1 in the War Within. And a lot of players have been asking themselves, is Blizzard releasing patches too quickly? Shouldn't they focus more on quality instead? And now we'll take a look at what Ian Hesse Coasters has to say about it and what the players have to say as well. Apparently there was a survey where the players' opinions were gathered. They asked about this one patch every 2 months thing. All of that is in this video. If you want to see more, if you want to support me, please leave a like and subscribe. I would appreciate it, and with that, let's get started. Basically, you can watch the entire talk again on Mr. GM's Twitch channel. He uploaded this talk there. Basically, anyone who wanted to could participate. You were also allowed to record it, and the whole thing lasted about an hour. According to Blizzard, there were over 350 questions this time. Of course, not all of them were answered, only as many as could fit into an hour, but the interest seemed to be relatively high. And yes, one of them was, why is there a patch every 8 weeks? And the answer here is relatively simple. They agreed on this one patch every 8 weeks schedule with Dragonflight because they thought, yeah, that's actually a pretty nice time frame. It doesn't really have any special meaning and it's not set in stone either. They just thought it would be a good measure and decided to go with it. So yeah, not exactly learning by doing, but instead of discussing it for a long time, just go ahead and do it. And accordingly, that's how it is. A small patch comes out, and then about 2 months, so 8 weeks later, the next small patch comes out. Then comes a big patch. Then again, 2 small patches, and so on and so forth. That means a season lasts about 6 months. And during a season, there is 1 big patch and 3 small patches. Important, as I said, Ian made it very, very clear here. This is not set in stone. It won't always be like this. And if they realize, hey, they need more time for a patch, then they'll take that time. So just because it's like this right now doesn't mean it always has to be that way. And then the question was, what do the players think about it? And here, Ian Hesse Coasters presented some numbers in this talk, where players were apparently asked, do you think a 2-month gap is okay? Do you think it's too fast? Do you think it's too slow? 50% of the players said, hey, a patch every 2 months is just perfect. And I would actually agree with that. Personally, sure, bugs are annoying or very buggy patches, but I still remember times when we didn't get a single patch for, I don't know, 8 months. Or we had 1 patch in 7 months and it only added a jukebox for your garrison. So when it comes to content, we're really spoiled right now. I also think that even for the small patches, the mix of content is usually very good. And for me personally, it works well. 25% said no, a patch every 2 months is too slow for them. And accordingly, for those who have been keeping track, that leaves another 25% of players who said, no, that's too fast for me. Accordingly, the conclusion is, right now everything looks very good and that works. And it seems, as I understood it, that the main focus here is to go by what the players want. So for now, they're sticking to roughly plus or minus 8 weeks. That makes sense. And if at some point the situation changes so that the players say, no, now things are moving way too fast for us, then they want to listen to that feedback and make changes accordingly to better accommodate the players. And yes, all in all, even though I personally say I like this 8-week pace, I think that if they actually implement it that way in the end, it's actually a pretty good thing. And In the end, I think what's really important here is to actually listen to what people want. Because in the end, if, for example, 90% were to say, hey, this is going way too fast for us, we can't keep up at all, then I think it wouldn't be very smart of Blizzard to still say, no, we're just going to push this through. Accordingly, you can expect patch 12.1 to be released in August. At the time of recording, we don't have an official release date yet, but I think that will be coming soon. And then this whole cycle continues. That means most likely in October, patch 12.1.5, then in December, 12.1 would be released. And then in February, patch 12.2 would be released. That one would also last for about 6 months. And then, probably in the third quarter of 2027, the launch of World of Warcraft, the last Titan, would be on the schedule. Bisher? So far, Blizzard has stuck to these numbers very meticulously since World of Warcraft Dragonflight. Sure, there were 1 or 2 days of delay here and there, or sometimes longer, you know. So, variation, that's the word I was looking for. But for the most part, they've always stuck to those 8 weeks. And I think that's a pretty good schedule. So that also means, because there were a lot of questions, the seasons will still last 6 months. In other words, a season is coming. After that, there will be 2 small patches before the next big one comes, and during that time, that's when the season takes place. That means even in 12.1 and probably in 12.2 as well, the season lasts 6 months. Now, you could argue whether it might be cooler to separate the seasons from the patches. Sometimes I feel like, well, personally, I can actually live with it very well right now because it gives me time to gear up my alts. That's why I personally like the 6 months. However, you can already notice after 2 months how the seasonal aspect drops off really hard. That's the case with every seasonal game. But if Blizzard wanted to keep the player numbers high here, it would probably be better for them to have smaller and shorter seasons. However, I don't know if people would then say, hey, if my gear is worthless every 3 or 4 months instead of every 6 months, that's too much. Why am I even playing then? Well, I don't know. Feel free to write your opinion about it in the comments. I'm curious to hear what you have to say. And with that, see you in the next video. Have a wonderful week. Take care and see you next time.